So when you look at this 22 team and just look at the depth on the roster, the talent on the first and second teams, all of it put together, and we're not going to try to put this team up against a ridiculous standard of a national championship LSU type team, but your standard LSU contending team in the SEC that wins 9 or 10 games, is a top 10 team in the country, top 15 at worst, something like that. Where does this team lack that a typical LSU team would be stronger? At least before we've seen football, it could change, but based on what you anticipate happening and based on the talent and the experience in the various units.
Yeah, that's hard to say because, I want to say just, of course, defensive back because there's just so much uncertainty there. Um, whether these transfers are going to really deliver, or these transfers are they going to be, like say for example, Greg Brooks and Joe Fouché, they were starting and kicking ass, taking names for Arkansas for a few years there. Are they going to pick up where they left off at LSU? Probably the safe bet is that they would. Jarek Bernard Converse, coming over as an all Big 12 player from Oklahoma State. Is he going to pick up where he left off? It's interesting because he also got hurt too, Mark. He got hurt right there during spring practice, one that we were actually at. LSU Odyssey were in attendance, and he actually looked good before he got hurt. So, Sevyn Banks at Ohio State as well there at DB. There's a lot of uncertain talent. Of course, they've got veterans like Jay Ward, who's someone they can depend on, someone who Matt House was recruiting when at his time in Kentucky. And Jay Ward flipped after he committed to Kentucky when Matt House was the defensive coordinator there, and flipped and went to LSU. And now here their paths are crossing again, and it might be Jay Ward and Mike Jones Jr., a combination of the two, calling signals for the defense. But as far as nickel, you got Greg Brooks Jr., Sage Ryan, who are going to be playing such a very important position for this team. Linebacker, it feels like outside of Mike Jones Jr., Greg Penn the third, Micah Baskerville, is Colby Fields going to show up? I think he might. He's a Louisiana guy who could really come good. It might take a year for him to, but I think he's going to turn out to be a good LSU player. Defensive line is solid. The offensive line maybe has some questions. Is freshman Will Campbell going to start at left tackle for LSU? I mean, that'd be very interesting to have a freshman start at left tackle in the SEC. I mean, that's just bizarre, and it might be happening with LSU here in 2022 with Will Campbell. Although there's a ton of competition, it's really for me the uncertainty with this team and whether certain position groups will prosper over others and where the weaknesses are. It's really going to depend on the position battles and how they go, how everything turns out. But so far, offensive line worries the hell out of me where that will shape out. Defensive back has to worry you just because there's so many dominoes yet to fall, and it's really interesting is where they will, because what combination. I feel like Mekhi Garner probably has that cornerback spot on the left sealed. But as far as who will join him on the right, that is a huge rat race. You could even move Jay Ward out to corner as well, his old spot. But I think they're going to use him at free safety, where he's been really excelling the last year and a half. But offensive line, DB, it's quarterback as well. You got to get this position right. It's, if you went with Miles Brennan, I think it would be a safe pick. I think it would be not showing enough gumption to win in the SEC. Jaden Daniels, that would be a pick that I feel like he would have to show a lot more growth in his passing range and ability and strength through August to impress me enough to be confident of him being an LSU starter in 2022. But Nussmeier, from what I've seen so far, seems to be the full package, but it's so many variables, Mark, so many variables, and Nussmeier has to bring it this August as well. It's gonna be a bloodbath for a quarterback, but there are a lot of uncertainties, and there are some possible potential weaknesses. And like I said just a bit ago, special teams you have to say is a possible potential weakness because it's really uncertain what we're gonna do there.